The stage lights were still warming up when the host's voice echoed through the massive America's Got Talent theater, but somewhere backstage, a young man stood completely still, eyes closed, palms pressed together like he was praying. His name hadn't been announced yet. The audience had no idea who he was. The judges were casually flipping their pens. And yet, in that quiet moment before everything changed, destiny was already clearing its throat. Before this story even begins, do me one small favor. If you believe in underdog stories, if you love music that touches the soul, tap like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to hear is not just a performance, it's a life. He grew up in a narrow street in the Philippines where the houses leaned into each other like tired old men sharing secrets. Electricity went out often, food was never guaranteed, and dreams were considered a luxury. His father worked odd jobs at the port, his mother sold homemade snacks, and the radio was the most valuable thing in their home. Every evening, when the static cleared just enough, a voice would float through the room, deep, warm, unforgettable. Elvis Presley. The boy didn't understand English at first, but he understood pain, longing, love. He would stand in front of a cracked mirror, holding a broom like a microphone, copying every move he'd seen in old, scratched DVDs borrowed from neighbors. People laughed. Kids teased him, calling him Elvis Encanto, the alley Elvis. He smiled through it, because singing was the only place where the world felt kind. Life didn't slow down for talent. School fees piled up, his father got sick, and the boy started singing on buses and street corners to help his family survive. Some days he earned enough for rice. Some days he earned nothing but sore feet and broken pride. Still, every night, he practiced. He studied Elvis not just as a singer, but as a storyteller. He learned how sadness could be powerful, how vulnerability could command a room. When his father passed away, the house felt emptier than ever, and music became grief's only translator. He promised himself that one day, his voice would carry him somewhere his father never got to see. The idea of America's Got Talent sounded impossible, like wishing on a star you knew you'd never touch. But a local talent scout filming street performers noticed him one evening, standing under a flickering streetlight, singing Can't Help Falling in Love with tears in his eyes. The video went quietly viral online. A few comments turned into thousands. A few shares turned into millions. And one email changed everything. An invitation. A plane ticket. A chance. His mother cried when she read it. Not because she believed he would win, but because for the first time, the world was listening. America was louder, faster, brighter than anything he'd ever known. The AGT backstage area felt like another universe, dancers stretching, magicians rehearsing, singers warming up with voices trained by expensive coaches. He felt small. His English was broken. His suit was borrowed. His hands shook. Doubt crept in, whispering that he didn't belong here. But then he remembered the alley, the radio, the broomstick microphone, his father's tired smile. He stepped onto the stage carrying all of it with him. The judges asked him his name, where he was from, why he was here. His voice trembled as he answered, but when he said, "I sing like Elvis," a few chuckles rippled through the crowd. Skepticism filled the room. He nodded, smiled softly, and waited for the music. The first note hit, and everything changed. His voice didn't imitate Elvis, it honored him. It carried the same ache, the same soul, but with a new story layered underneath. A Filipino story. A story of hunger, hope, and heartbreak. The audience leaned forward. One judge's pen dropped. Another forgot to breathe. By the chorus, people were crying. By the final note, the theater exploded. A standing ovation thundered like a storm. The judges were on their feet, stunned. One of them said it felt like watching Elvis reborn through struggle and humility. Another said they didn't just hear a song, they felt a life. He tried to speak, but emotion stole his words. Tears ran freely, and for the first time, he didn't hide them. When the golden buzzer slammed, showering him in gold, he fell to his knees, hands shaking, heart racing, realizing that the impossible had just happened. But the journey didn't magically become easy. Fame came fast, and pressure came faster. Online critics accused him of copying, of writing nostalgia. He questioned himself late at night in hotel rooms, wondering if he was enough without the shadow of Elvis. The competition rounds were brutal. Every performance felt like walking a tightrope over everything he'd ever known. He chose songs that told his truth, blending his Filipino roots with the spirit of classic rock and roll. Slowly, he stopped trying to be the next Elvis and started becoming the first version of himself. Week after week, he survived eliminations. He grew more confident, more present. His mother watched every episode from home, neighbors crowding around a single TV, cheering like it was a national holiday. Kids who once laughed at him now sang his songs in the streets. He wasn't just representing himself anymore, he was carrying a country's pride on his shoulders. The finale night arrived, and the stage had never felt so heavy. As he walked out, he didn't see judges or cameras. He saw the alley. He saw his father. He saw every no, every closed door, every hungry night. He sang not to win, but to thank the journey. The performance ended in silence, deep, sacred silence, before the crowd erupted one last time. Whether he took the trophy or not almost didn't matter anymore. He had already taken something bigger. He had proven that dreams don't care where you're born, what language you speak, or how small your world starts. When the show ended, he spoke directly to the camera and said that if a poor boy from the Philippines could stand on that stage, then no dream was too far for anyone watching. And that's why this story matters. Because somewhere right now, someone is listening to this with doubt in their heart and a dream in their chest. If that's you, remember this: talent opens doors, but persistence kicks them down. If this story inspired you even a little, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the world is one voice brave enough to sing. The theater was loud, but inside his chest there was a silence so deep it felt like the world had stopped breathing. The cameras weren't on him yet. The judges were still chatting, the audience still settling into their seats, unaware that in just a few minutes, they would witness a story that began thousands of miles away, in a narrow Filipino street where dreams were fragile and hope had to fight to survive. Before this moment unfolds, before the first note is sung, if you believe that music can change lives and that impossible dreams can become real, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because this is not just a performance, this is a journey that could remind you why you once believed in your own dreams. He was born in a place where the air smelled of salt and dust, where children learned early that life was not fair and that nothing came easy. His house was small, its walls thin enough to let in every sound of the neighborhood: arguments, laughter, crying babies, barking dogs. His parents worked hard, yet money always slipped through their fingers like sand. His father carried heavy loads at the port when work was available, and when it wasn't, he fixed things for neighbors who barely had enough themselves. His mother woke before sunrise to prepare snacks she sold on the roadside, her hands rough but gentle, her smile tired but unbreakable. In that home, music was not entertainment. It was escape. The radio, old and scratched, was their treasure. One evening, as rain hammered the tin roof and the electricity flickered, a voice came through the static, deep, aching, powerful. Elvis Presley. The boy froze. He didn't know the words, didn't understand the language, but something inside him responded instantly. It felt like the singer was reaching through time and distance, speaking directly to his heart. From that day on, he waited every night for that voice to return. He practiced in secret at first, embarrassed by how much he loved it. Then slowly, music took over his life. He sang while walking to school, while helping his mother cook, while lying on the floor staring at the ceiling. He watched old Elvis performances on borrowed DVDs, memorizing not just the songs, but the way Elvis stood, the way he breathed, the way emotion poured out without shame. In front of a cracked mirror, holding a broomstick like a microphone, he imagined crowds cheering his name. But reality was not kind to dreamers. At school, classmates mocked him. They said he was pretending to be someone he could never be. Teachers told him to focus on something practical. Relatives shook their heads and warned his parents that music would lead nowhere. Still, every time he sang, the world felt lighter. Singing was the only moment when he wasn't poor, when he wasn't afraid, when he wasn't invisible. As he grew older, life tightened its grip. School became harder to afford. His father's health declined, medical bills piling up like an unmovable mountain. The boy began singing on buses, in markets, on street corners. Sometimes people stopped to listen. Sometimes they ignored him completely. Sometimes they laughed. On good days, he earned enough for rice and vegetables. On bad days, he returned home with nothing but dust on his shoes and disappointment in his chest. Yet every night, he practiced. Every night, he told himself tomorrow would be better. Then his father died. The house fell into a silence heavier than hunger. His mother cried quietly at night, thinking her son couldn't hear. The boy stopped singing for weeks. Music, once his refuge, now reminded him too much of what he'd lost. But one evening, as he sat alone, the radio crackled to life again. An Elvis song played, slow, sorrowful, honest. For the first time, he understood every emotion in it. He sang along, his voice breaking, tears streaming down his face. In that moment, he realized music didn't just bring joy. It carried grief. It healed wounds words couldn't touch. He promised himself and his father's memory that he would not give up. Years passed. He kept singing wherever he could, small events, weddings, local competitions. He never won big prizes, but people remembered him. They said his voice felt real. One night, under a dim streetlight, he sang with everything he had left inside him. Someone recorded it on a phone. That video traveled further than he ever had. First hundreds of views, then thousands, then millions. Comments poured in from people who had never met him but felt connected to his pain and passion. Then came the message that didn't feel real. America's Got Talent wanted him to audition. His mother thought it was a scam at first. He reread the email 100 times, his hands shaking. When it finally sank in, he broke down. America was a dream he had only seen in movies. Flying there felt like stepping into someone else's life. Neighbors gathered to say goodbye, pressing small bills into his hands, wishing him luck like he was carrying all their hopes with him. The plane ride was his first. He stared out the window, watching the clouds, wondering how a boy from a broken street ended up here. In America, everything felt overwhelming, the size of the buildings, the speed of the people, the sound of English spoken everywhere. Backstage at AGT, he saw performers who looked flawless, confident, trained. Doubt crept in, whispering that he didn't belong. When his name was called, his heart nearly stopped. He walked onto the stage under blinding lights, the audience a blur of faces. The judges smiled politely, curiosity mixed with skepticism. They asked him where he was from, why he chose this stage. He spoke honestly, his accent thick, his voice trembling. When he mentioned Elvis, a few people chuckled. He nodded, accepting their doubt. He had lived with it his whole life. The music began. From the first note, the room changed. His voice wasn't perfect, but it was true. It carried years of hunger, loss, perseverance. It carried the spirit of Elvis but told a new story, his story. The audience leaned in. Judges stopped writing. Some eyes filled with tears. He wasn't trying to impress anymore. He was simply singing like his life depended on it. When the final note faded, there was a heartbeat of silence. Then the theater exploded. Cheers, applause, people on their feet. One judge wiped their eyes. Another shook their head in disbelief. Words like authentic, soul, and unforgettable filled the air. And when the golden buzzer was hit, raining gold around him, he collapsed, overwhelmed by a moment he had never allowed himself to imagine. But success brought new challenges. Fame came fast. Social media turned him into a symbol overnight. Some praised him. Others criticized him, saying he was copying, that he wasn't original. Alone in hotel rooms, he questioned himself. Was he just an imitation? Did he deserve this platform? He almost quit more than once. Then he remembered why he started. Not for fame. Not for approval. But because music saved him. In the next rounds, he took risks. He blended Elvis-style emotion with his own cultural roots. He told stories through his songs, not just sang them. Each performance felt like opening his heart to the world. the judges noticed the growth. The audience connected even more deeply. Back home, his mother watched every episode, neighbors packing into their house, cheering so loudly you could hear it down the street. Kids who once mocked him now dreamed because of him. The finale arrived faster than he expected. Standing on that stage one last time, he felt calm. He sang like he always had, honestly, fearlessly, with love. When he finished, he bowed his head, grateful, regardless of the result. Whether he won or not, his life had already changed. He returned home not just as a singer, but as proof. Proof that where you start does not define where you end. Proof that pain can become power. Proof that dreams, when carried with courage, can cross oceans. So if you're watching this and wondering if your struggle is worth it, remember this story. Remember the boy with a broomstick microphone, singing under a broken streetlight, daring to believe. If this journey moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope. Because somewhere, right now, another dream is waiting for its first note to be sung.